Ready? Play.
Señoras y señores, el fisioterapeuta ha sido llamado al campo. Llamo invitado.
Senhoras e senhores, o vencedor, Thiago Monteiro. Aplausos também para Carlos Alcaraz. Desejamos melhoras e até a próxima.
You've been to the French Open final.
Ready. Play.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever time it is in the world, wherever you are tuning in from. I'm sharing some of the scores on the screen with you right now. Vanch, if you give me a thumbs up, I'll bring you forward. That's a yes, I guess. How are you doing?
I'm all right.
Let's begin just quickly with a couple of results that have emerged in the last hour or so. I'm actually going to begin with Paolini and work back. I came home just now, turned on the TV, and saw Paolini serving to stay in the match, which I don't know if I'm surprised or I'm just like, well, yeah, I guess losing to Potapova can happen. What are your thoughts?
Probably more of the latter. Potapova was pretty consistent this time of the year in Indian Wells in Miami. And I think she brings the power that even on a slow hard court like this, she can overwhelm Paolini, especially on her in some of the return games. So I wasn't too shocked. Also, it's been a good run for Paolini. She got to the fourth round. It is here. I don't think that's a particularly bad result. She also beat Kalinskaya again in a close three-setter. So yeah, it's just kind of one of those where it's like, could have gone either way.
I mean, just looking at the result, I mean, when she wins the second set 6-love, you're probably thinking, well, Potapova can blow hot and cold, and she's had her good moment, if you like, and it would appear that Paolini would go on to win the match, but she's out, of course, having won that 1,000 recently in Dubai. I don't know whether I'm being a bit harsh on Paolini, but maybe that was an opportunistic 1,000 win. Is that unfair, or what do you think?
I think so, but then at the same time, she still had to beat some good players. Like I think she beat Haddad Maya in the first match. She was down like 4-6, 2-4, 15-40, something like that, and then she came out of that one. She was kind of fortunate, but then she won like several games in a row, and then she beat Fernandez. She beat Fernandez and Sakkari quite comfortably, actually. I think the withdrawal against Rybakina, that's probably the one that you could point to as maybe that's when the draw really opened up.
Did you say that what was happening in the Haddad Maya match? So was she facing match points or something, did you say?
Almost, virtually. I mean, she was down 2-4, 15-40 in the second set. She lost the first set 6-4.
And Kalinskaya was serving for it as well in the final, right?
Yeah, I kind of thought that match was on Kalinskaya's racket. I thought going into the final that she would win that in a close match. But then, unfortunately, actually, Kalinskaya played pretty bad 4 games in a row. Got a little bit nervous serving it out. Paolini just made her work a lot for it and just kept the ball really deep and was just super steady and fought really well. So it was definitely deserved in the end. But yeah, I did feel like it was one of those fortunate ones where a lot of the top players were out by then.
All right. There is a comment in the chat, and I know what Kren is referring to. I'm pretty sure he's talking about Osaka's loss last night, which, I tweeted actually regarding Osaka's loss last night that it was a mini surprise, or am I underestimating Mertens a bit?
I think so. I think it was kind of a mini surprise. I thought Mertens played really well, actually. Her defense was really good. She was most part.
I didn't think she would serve it out. She was having a few wobbles.
Yeah. She was down breakpoint in the last game and came up with a really clutch play. And I actually thought, I mean, Osaka just keeps building. She hasn't really done anything spectacular since her comeback, but she also hasn't really disappointed. So it's kind of on track.
Yeah, I don't think I think it's actually pretty good. I think she had a win in Brisbane or New Zealand, one of the sort of pre-Australian Open tournaments. But she was looking okay. She's very unfortunate, I think, to get Garcia in the first round in Australia, which, I remember talking to Miles about this, and Miles predicted Osaka to win. I went for Garcia, but I went for Garcia purely just because I thought this match is going to come too soon for Naomi. She could do with this in the second or third round, and then maybe I would make her the favorite. And a few weeks later, she beat Garcia. And I think you're right. There's been a nice gradual improvement. Yes, I made her the mini sort of slight favorite yesterday, and therefore a slight surprise that she went out. But, the level was there. It just wasn't there throughout. It was just there incrementally, which brings me to our hot topic of the day, Vanch, that we've just been chatting about on WhatsApp. Incremental, gradual are the perfect words to describe the disappearance of facial hair on top of Damien's lip. No, no, because that's quite dramatic. No, Tsitsipas. Vanch, just sort of elaborate a bit more on some of the things we've been talking about in the last sort of half an hour.
Yeah, we've sort of been discussing in our group chat, like just where Tsitsipas is at right now in his game. And, most people are saying that he's regressed, kind of stagnated, like kind of become very irrelevant over the last few months. And I can't disagree with any of that. Like, the results kind of speak for themselves there in that regard. But somehow I'm just like not quite ready to be like, okay, like we should expect him to be 15 to 20 in the world. Like I don't know. I feel like the strengths are still somewhat there in spades. And I still feel like he's still kind of working his way back after some issues. Like the new service motion thing is still kind of a strange one for me. Like I know he did that because of his back injury, and he thought it would ease the pain a little bit for him to go to that new motion. But I didn't think that would be the change that he would make, in the off season. And like there have been also some parts of his game that are just continually holding him back, obviously, with the backhand and this thing. And if he's not able to serve as well as he used to, that's even harder. And when he comes up against a peaking opponent like Lehechka today, there just really was no chance for him. I mean, he had 4 break points in this match, but like just you never felt like he was going to get back into it. Never feel like he really found the solutions, and was still being rushed on a slow court like this. So that doesn't bode really well for him. I'm kind of just still thinking that he, during the clay season, he can get some mojo going, and kind of that will keep his season alive probably. And maybe there's some openings later in the year, like around the US Open time, but he's never traditionally done well at the US Open, never been past the 3rd round there. So yeah, it is kind of the clay season is going to be really big for him.
I mean, the thing is, though, with the clay season, he'll go into a tournament with chances because his talent, especially on that surface, is so, so big, so great. But he just needs a few more variables to fall his way. Whereas in 2021, which is the golden moment, I had to look up the date and guess on the time when I said at 3:30 Central European time. But I mean, I was there. Now I talk about this sort of line in the sand, and that's the line when he was peaking in that 6 months and just getting better and better and better. And it was him, Rafa, and Novak. That was the big 3 for 6 months, and that's insane. No, Damien?
I mean, I don't know. Clay season for sure, but was he really that good? Sort of Miami Sunshine.
Yeah,
Bubble
true.
there?
But if you looked at their results over 6 months, you've got a semi-final in Australia, you've got a Monte Carlo win, you've got match point against Rafa on the court named after him, you've got a paper-thin margin between him and Novak in Rome.
That's all clay season. That's still clay season.
Well, there's there's the semi-final in Australia and the win over Rafa from 2 sets down.
Semi-final in Australia, yeah. I mean, but Rafa was not really like, a threat there, I think.
He didn't
win the title at least, yeah. So generally speaking, I would say that, top big 3, to call him big 3 in the hardcourt season, probably it's a stretch. In the clay, yes, absolutely. I mean, he lost to Nadal, Ruud, and Djokovic again during that clay swing. And that Ruud loss kind of stands out, even though it kind of shouldn't, because it's, Casper Ruud on clay, right?
Where did he lose to Ruud? Where?
Madrid.
Madrid.
Doesn't matter. Like that kind of stands out, but it really shouldn't, because it's still Casper Ruud on clay. I mean, I think the worrying part, and it's been like that for a while for him, is that, he can't beat Djokovic. Sure, Djokovic maybe soon will be beatable. I mean, maybe we're now seeing a beatable Djokovic. Who knows? Let's see. But right now, it's more important that he can't beat his peers. So like Zverev, Medvedev, 4 big titles. At least he hasn't earned the chances in his career to really play them for major finals. But the youngsters are a much bigger issue. Like Sinner, Alcaraz, he's never really touching them in best of 5 anymore, at least in case of Sinner, because of course he beat him twice at the Australian Open. If they play this year, it's a beatdown. Of course they didn't, but if they play this year again after beating him in 2022 and 2023, if they play this year, it's not a match. When it comes to Alcaraz, of course, I mean, he even in their first match, he was in trouble already, and after that, he hasn't even taken a set, I think. And now you see guys like Lehechka, Fils, because I have to sort of point this out once again. Like, he's not losing random matches. He's not losing to random players. Maybe, Alex Molchan, Davis Cup and stuff. But like for the most part, his losses for let's say the last 6 months or so, they have been like Jari, Umber, Dimitrov, Fils, Lehechka now. Of course, this year there's already been Deminor, Ruud. Like all of these players, are Taylor Fritz. They are all sort of either top 20 or will be in the top 20 at probably various points of their careers. So it's really nothing scary for him in terms of that. Just there's the sheer list of names that we're going to see. But if someone like Lehechka, like Fils, if they are going to also develop into players that Tsitsipas kind of can't beat, because that's sort of the standard that we're talking about with Alcaraz Sinner, that it's not, he has a marginal chance against them. He like almost can't beat them in best of 5 play. If these youngsters start flooding the tour, it's going to be really hard for him to survive. And yeah, clay is always going to be a bit of a shot, always a bit tough to expose the weaknesses, always a bit tough to target the one-hander. But maybe especially these last 2 matches with Fils and Lehechka, maybe they're like the best possible examples of these youngsters just sort of getting into a match with Tsitsipas and just knowing exactly what they need to do, just knowing exactly what weakness they have to target and just playing with such a clear idea in their heads. Whereas, of course, for neither Lehechka or Fils, sometimes it can be very tough to, sort of produce that game plan, to know what they're going to have to do on the court. Whereas right now against Tsitsipas, they just have a field day, they just come out. They have been obviously told by their coaches or even themselves. They have it absolutely clear in their heads what they are supposed to do. And it's rough. I mean, perhaps tougher on hard courts, of course, for Tsitsipas than it will be on clay. But still, if you're thinking of the French, because I don't care about the Masters, he can win Monte Carlo again. That's not really going to change the course of his career or like, any narrative for him. But let's say, if we're talking about winning a slam, Tsitsipas would actually have to get through, let's say, Alcaraz or Sinner, or maybe both. And that seems just impossible. And maybe soon enough, there's going to be more youngsters. Obviously, Holger Rune is someone I didn't mention, but he's also been beating Tsitsipas pretty easily so far, despite not being like, at the best of his, like at his peak yet, and definitely far from it. So it's rough, but it's nothing new, I guess, now.
I don't think. So I'm just trying to think. Since that French Open final in 2021, he's won Monte Carlo once and lost Cabos. He's certainly not won any other 1000s, I think, in that time. I know he got to the final in Cincinnati, but that's it. I think, unless he might have won a 500 in this. I don't think he's won a 500, actually. I think that's one of those sort of outliers in his career. Am I right?
Yeah, it's like the Rublev quarterfinal stat.
Yeah.
I mean, no big deal. That's not part of my...
My if you've won 2 ATP thousands and if you've won the ATP finals, who cares about the 500s?
Yeah, right. No, but I think, am I right in thinking since that French Open final, he's won 2 titles?
Ooh, that sounds like...
No, I mean, he's won a title on grass.
Monte Carlo.
No, he's won Monte Carlo once, and in 2022, lost Cabos last year.
Monte Carlo twice.
No, that was in 2021. He won.
Because that was 2021 first one. Yeah. You're talking about just that. Is it really? Just 2 titles?
Awesome.
We're forgetting about Mallorca, but it's irrelevant.
Yeah, I know it's kind of irrelevant. I was going to mention that one, but
and Los Cabos is as well. So like we're thinking of one big title, realistically, like one title that matters.
One Monte Carlo, yeah.
Yeah, and that there's a few asterisks there. I mean, I think there was no Carlos, there was no Rafa. This is a little bit before we saw obviously Yannick, but also Carlos and Rune. These are all players that weren't on the scene that year. I think, Carlos was injured. Sorry, tell a lie. No, Carlos was injured and Novak played, but went out early, I think.
Carlos played when he lost to Korda, but it was a schedule thing. Like he just...
I think he didn't play in 2022. Don't think he played 2022, did he?
Lost to Korda.
He lost to Korda.
Okay. Sorry, tell a lie. Yeah, he went out early to Korda. All right, listen, have you got one more word, Vanch? If you can keep to 30 seconds, that would be great, on Tsitsipas.
Not really, to be honest. He just has a lot of stuff to figure out, really, when it comes to the rivals. And yeah, I mean, I can't disagree, really. I mean, there's a lot of, like, the game plan is very obvious against him. And it just, there's just more players that can do it now. So yeah, it's up to him to really see what he does about it. But right now, like... Yeah, I agree also that his losses are not random. There's definitely, clear like top 20 level players that are beating him. So yeah, maybe if he just gets one of these good wins again, maybe they're like, he's only had one really good win, and that was against Zverev in Paris. That's like the only one win that he's had amongst these top 20 players recently. So Zverev and Khachanov really in that tournament.
Right. I would have happily talked about Tsitsipas for a lot longer, but we have got a match going on.
I think we can move on.
Yeah, we can. I'll just say one more thing, that the free titles, like, they kind of also represent something, right? Because to win titles, you got to beat these big time players, top 20-ish level, and he just hasn't been doing that. So
no.
That's why he doesn't have titles. Yeah, Fábián, Marozsán, Carlos Alcaraz.
We've got a break point for Carlitos already, and I'm just wondering did Fábián Marozsán catch Carlos a little cold in Rome last year in terms of beginning of the match concentration? Was Carlos complacent, or is it just Marozsán was just playing lights out and Carlos for whatever reason couldn't live with him in Rome last year?
Beginning of the match, I don't know, but generally speaking, of course, he was a little wary after winning Barcelona and Madrid.
Yeah, I mean, I just wonder if Carlos, especially with his concentration, sometimes we see Carlos's concentration wane towards the end of a match when he's up a set and a break, or he's up 2 sets to love and he's cruising against Stefanos Tsitsipas, and we just see a little. But I'm wondering if that concentration issue actually began at the beginning of the match against Marozsán, because unlike most of those bigger matches against Stefanos or whoever, he's obviously going to be on it from the beginning. But having just won Madrid and Barcelona and looking, with the exception of Djokovic, looking unbeatable. And that was just because he hadn't played Djokovic until the French Open. Just wondering if maybe he was... Whereas that's not going to happen today, Damien. I wouldn't have thought, because he knows exactly who Marozsán is.
But that's also connected to fatigue. But I actually touched on something like relatively similar. I don't remember where, probably on one of these streams a couple of days ago, where I said that, well, it's funny because right in these days, like, you have so much ability to like scout your opposition. Your coaches have, especially when you have such a big team, you have a lot of ability to just know who you're going to face. But it was pretty clear both in Rome for Carlos and also in Cagliari for Shelton that like they didn't really know what to expect from Marozsán. Like they were definitely kind of surprised, especially with the drop shot being so good. And it's kind of funny to me that even when a player is outside the top 100, and even though there are so many sort of options to scout, maybe that wasn't exactly, as Terry says, maybe exactly that homework was not done by the Alcaraz team or by him himself. So of course today that's going to be different. Like now he knows exactly what he's going to get from Marozsán.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Vanch?
Yeah, he probably kind of went into it like maybe having somewhat of an idea that Marozsán loves to drop shot and he's got that in his back pocket, but maybe he just wasn't expecting like that ridiculous level of execution, like so consistently to work against him. Maybe he just thought like, I think I can, I still can counter it. I still can get up there. I still can, do that. But I think in combination with the Barcelona Madrid fatigue, it made it in such a way that it was. Many people were saying it was like the biggest upset, like of the century or something like this. But I think that was just. I don't think that's actually true.
I said before.
Carlos Alcaraz didn't know a thing about Marozsán, and so didn't the people who said that it was a massive upset.
Yeah, I think I know I said last night that if Nardi beats Djokovic, that would be a bigger shock than Marozsán beating Alcaraz for a variety of reasons. On the Alcaraz side, Alcaraz is not a 23-time Grand Slam winner. 23? Yeah, 23. Is it that Djokovic has some? I'm losing it now.
24.
24. Because Rafa's on 24, yeah, bloody hell. Dear me. 24-time Grand Slam.
I mixed that up too.
Yeah.
No, anyway, but like even the odds, on Marozsán, it was like 20-1, which is ridiculous. Like it's just a stupid pricing, even if it wasn't Marozsán.
It wasn't Bastian who said it, by the way. I know who else was saying it. There was a British journalist saying it as well. In fact, and there was also, beyond that, we had Ben Rothenberg was just going nuts on it in terms of the craziness of that result that he thought. So there was quite a few, journalists or whatever experts out there were suggesting it. But I just think
bigger than any of those major matches, like 2013 Wimbledon, Stakhovsky, or like Denis Istomin versus Djokovic. Those are much bigger upsets to me. Like on
Yeah.
much bigger scale.
Istomin, Stakowski, Soderling. I would say, yeah, these are basically.
Oh yes, totally. Yeah, and
Maybe
and then of
Darcy
course,
or some of those matches. Like not
comparing it to last
Yeah,
night.
by Steve Darcy's, I don't think we can really. Yeah, Steve Darcy's, I don't think it's like. But Lucas Rosol maybe the year earlier.
Rosol, yeah, that's the one.
But
Probably
yeah.
that's the bigger one. Yeah.
Because by Darcy's, you kind of 2013, of course, a great year for Rafa.
Yeah,
but like
Rosol,
you kind
I
of
think
maybe start expecting that he could be a bit vulnerable on grass.
Yeah.
Of course, straight sets also made it kind of impossible. But yeah, Stakowski, Soderling, Istomin. Yeah, Istomin is a great shout. Obviously, that was like just impossible.
And Nardi winning last night, Vanch, is a bigger shock, right, than Marozsán beating Alcaraz. Because I just think the two, the reason I just want to say this, Vanch, before you answer, sorry, is that I put Djokovic here and Nardi here, if you like, or maybe even here if you can follow me off camera. Whereas the gap between the two, especially a peaking Marozsán on a clay court against Carlos, it's there, and it's a shock. But the gap between a 24-time Grand Slam winner on a hard court, and I don't care what the conditions are like in India, whereas he still won the title 5 times. It's not like Miami and Nadal, and we're talking about somebody, Nardi, who's coming from a lot further back in terms of this 2-horse race than Marozsán was against Alcaraz.
Yeah, just because there's a much bigger body of work, and like the stature of the player is just such that, given the history of the event, and also just you wouldn't think that Nardi would be the one to beat him, here, and you didn't think that he would actually. It was a pretty seismic upset, actually. But then at the same time, like if you really think about it, maybe, yeah, like I mean, Djokovic has had some weird losses in Indian Wells, Miami since 2017, sort of onwards. But yeah,
I mean, we do say that
there are arguments for the Djokovic loss. There are arguments for the Djokovic loss. It's not like totally a landslide, but
no, but
yeah.
But the I lost my train of thought now. But the Djokovic loss. Okay, when he loses, like he lost to Sinner, and then obviously last night to Nardi, we then go, well, there were signs, and we did see this coming, but we kind of. Yeah, but we've seen 1,000 signs with Novak, and he still wins. Probably 12 of those 24 Grand Slams, there were signs that told us he wasn't going to win those Grand Slams, but he did. And there's probably, of his 40-odd Masters, probably 20 of them, we probably go, well, there were signs. So I don't know. Anyway, listen, I'll tell you what, I'm going to let you two talk tennis and enjoy the match.
Right.
Yeah, I think yes.
Right? Did Alcaraz have a break point in the first game? I think he did, right?
Yeah, he did. Marozsán saved it with a smash that was like a little too close for comfort, but was like right on the line eventually. Just want to say on what John just had. What was that? Jesus, I already forgot because I'm now watching the next point. But I think I was.
Alcaraz, like
I was going to say that last night a friend of mine actually said something that was pretty ridiculous to me, that like Novak has definitely declined and stuff, that you could already see it last year. And I'm like, well, he won 3 slams. He was still number 1, and he produced one of his best back-to-back performances at the ATP finals, right? So yeah, basically, I agree with what was said, that we still cannot really say that he declined and he's already washed, because, well, a couple of months ago he wasn't. So let's give him time. But yeah, there are arguments that sort of also work in favor of the Nardi loss. Yes, in terms of or also work in favor of the Nardi loss being like less surprising. However, I think John was also right in the group chat when he said that basically me watching kind of like almost all of Luka Nardi's matches this year actually only made me more surprised. when in Marozsán's case, it was very different, because, I watched some ridiculous peak performances from him, also live, Bratislava 2022 or Szekesfehérvár 2023, and that's why I was expecting it. So actually, in this case, it was the other way around, because I watched so many Luka Nardi matches this year, and he was awful. I was even more sort of, it's not going to happen. It's not possible. And
I
Kim
can't believe
actually
that, like,
mentioned one
honestly.
of these matches, of course, in the chat with the loss to Ramkumar Ramanathan, where Nardi was very tired. Like, actually, this one was fully explainable. But yeah, he had a lot of bad performances this year.
Yeah, there was nothing really to suggest that he would go up. I mean, did he ever beat a top 50 player before this week? Before the Zhang match, I think that was his best
Tough
win
question.
somehow. I
He
think
definitely
so.
had a
I
great
remember.
match with Steph. That's
Yeah, I
that's
remember
that's
that.
kind
Was
of
that in
famous.
Astana in 2022? It was a couple
Astana
tiebreaks.
2022, yes, 2 tiebreaks, but it was a very, very good loss, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Otherwise, I think last year or so, probably not. I'm thinking about like Astana and stuff, but yeah, probably he didn't have a top 50 win. I don't think so.
Yeah. So this was going to be one of those matches of Djokovic that you probably wouldn't tune into otherwise, if there wasn't any moment of like.
Oh,
real
absolutely.
So
I mean, I really didn't tune into that much at all. Like I only saw last couple of games because I woke up for it randomly, and then of course some highlights and stuff. But it was middle of the night for me, and I was like, yeah, there's no reason to watch it really. Obviously, there was. Fábián Marozsán, by the way, lost a point after a drop shot, which already gives you the same sort of amount of points that he lost after a drop shot against Alcaraz in Rome.
yeah, was it 3 points?
Well, actually, they show the stat here. I know there's a stat 15-18 floating around, but
Yeah,
here they actually show the stat on the feed 11 out of 12. So
okay.
I went with this one. Apparently, it's kind of tough to say how many drop shots were executed for some reason, but who knows? Will Kuznetsov even win another match? I mean, he is retired and coaching Safiullin. I mean, probably not. Not when he has to play Zachary Sfida.
Yeah. Just one more thing on Novak. I think there's only 4 tournaments that matter to him really this year. Just the 3 majors and the Olympics. That's all I will judge him on when the year is over.
The 3 majors?
3 remaining.
3 remaining. Okay, yeah.
3
I was
remaining
thinking,
in Olympics.
Like, is there a slam that doesn't matter to him?
Those are the only 4. Realistically, those are the only 4 events that matter for Djokovic at this point in his career. So that's what he will be judged on when the season's over.
It makes sense. Realistic, like I was actually thinking of something like, okay, so is Djokovic kind of done on slower courts? And a part of me wants to say maybe, but then again, this is the guy that won the French Open last year, so how can we even say that, right?
Yeah, I think it was Shiveri who said that he hasn't played on the slow outdoor hard court since 2020 Australian Open. He and I were talking about this yesterday, and he said 2020 Australian Open was the last really slow hard court that Djokovic played on outdoors. And I think he's right, because I can't think of another one, like outdoor hard.
Astana doesn't count, right, because it's indoors. Paris doesn't count because it's indoors. Yeah, I suppose. Then again, like how many tournaments would he actually play usually in these conditions over the year? Just Indian Wells, really, right?
Yeah, and he wasn't entering most of those because of his vaccination status.
Maybe Australia back in the day, if we treat it as super slow, or maybe if there was a slow year at the US Open, yeah, but yeah, these days, I mean, kind of only Indian Wells.
But yeah, he really did struggle to hit through these conditions. Wind, slow night. It did look like he was getting outslugged from the back.
Wind here, sun at the Australian Open. There are excuses, but yeah, he said he was shocked with his level, and yeah, it wasn't up to the standard that we usually expect from him.
Yeah, obviously it's unique because he usually comes into this part of the year with at least a title, like either in Dubai or like Australia. He's usually won, So this is a bit of a new thing.
Yeah, sure.
But maybe that also means going into Monte Carlo, maybe he'll be, in better shape than previous years. Like if he plays Miami, I think he could use Miami like as a good, just getting some matches in probably would be good for him. I don't know if he's going to play
like 30 seconds.
I don't know. Unfortunately, I don't think he treats these tournaments like they're a major, but at the same time, he still really wanted to win. Like he was still pretty. He was still coming in here with a goal to, go pretty deep. especially after not having played the event for 5 years. Plus, he's kind of at a point in his career where, like, all the big tournaments that he does play, like, he is gonna want to try to win all of them, because otherwise, why are you even bothering? You're only gonna play like 12 tournaments the whole year, so. Anyways, back to this match. Looks like Alcaraz has a game point for 2-all, and he goes for a drop shot. Marozsán gets there. Alcaraz goes for the backhand lob, and the lob is too good. Marozsán sort of sticks up his racket on the backhand. Volley. But yeah, Alcaraz hit a good lob here, and so he does hold. Looks like Marozsán has some tape under, his hamstring area, so far it doesn't look like his movement is very compromised, especially when he was chasing that drop shot down.
Back now. Whose movement?
Marozsán. Yeah.
Was there any concern regarding that?
Him being compromised, because he does have some like kinesio tape.
I haven't seen it yet.
This time Alcaraz misses the lob on the backhand. Marozsán coming in, trying to put away a forehand volley. Seems like it is a little bit windier today, during the day, than perhaps earlier on in the tournament. At least that's what it looks like from the wind blowing against Alcaraz's shirt. I don't know if they actually showed the forecast. Of course, you can just look that up. Apparently on Thursday the wind is supposed to really pick up. It's supposed to be 15-mile-per-hour winds. Today it's 8 miles per hour for the quarters.
8 miles per hour. Let me calculate it. That doesn't sound like that much, I suppose.
Yeah, that's today. So apparently it's not that much. But Thursday is supposed to be 15.
Thursday is quarterfinals?
Yeah.
I suppose so, yeah. I'm already thinking sort of, who it can suit and stuff.
Yeah.
But of course, yeah, it's tough to say for now. Lechečka is gonna face Shelton or Sinner, right? So this is the Zverev the minor section. Alcaraz and Marozsán. I guess it's a bit early to tell. So far, let's see if Fabi can even threaten here. I mean, so far, of course, he's okay on the scoreboard, but I guess it's kind of been like more issues for him rather than Alcaraz, right, on serve. In like every game, it's been deuce since it's been going to deuce and stuff.
Yeah, it looks like the service game is getting a little bit more complicated as well. Alcaraz moving back on the second serve return. We'll see how he does with the second serve return. Like against Felix, he was mostly taking them inside the baseline, and then he kind of moved back in the second set. Like middle of the second set, he moved back on the second serve return, and it worked really well. Not that it wasn't working that well
Speaking of
earlier.
irrelevant players.
Yeah, he is. Unless, of course, Basel. Basel and some of the indoor fall tournaments.
Yeah, maybe he's still going to be a goat in Basel every single time.
Yeah.
And Marozsán also holds, so I guess this is the first non-deuce hold so far, holding up very okay. We said earlier, of course, that this is probably the well, it's not quite a Rome situation. Alcaraz shouldn't be as vulnerable, but maybe everyone is vulnerable to Fábián Marozsán on a good day. Fognini and Kokinakis, the most talented doubles duo to play a challenger match ever. I didn't even know actually that they were in the doubles draw in Phoenix. I haven't looked at it because it came out very late.
Is Murray playing the challenger doubles? Probably not.
In Phoenix? I don't think he's playing the singles either.
He's not?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he was in the draw. Wait, Murray?
He was on the entry list initially, but of course, Phoenix and the 175s are the ones where the initial list has nothing to do with the draw. So he pulled out. He pulled out.
Oh, okay. I didn't even realize that.
And I don't think he was on the doubles list to begin with either. It's kind of wild. You have Safiullin playing with his coach. You have Vitko Priva playing with his coach in the doubles there. The list is kind of weird.
I heard that
as
Indian
far as I know, that's the only two.
Mixed doubles.
Yeah, the mixed doubles thing. Yeah, I heard about it.
Yeah, I don't know what that's going to be like, but maybe some players stuck around just for that.
It's tough to know how serious that is because we've already had a bit of a mixed doubles competition, right?
Tie-break earlier on.
I don't know if I fully agree with, for example, there's of course there are these doubles guys like Will Bocek or Hanlon Walsh who have been on the show here before as well, and I think it was Will who tweeted out that mixed doubles is such an underused category or discipline or however he called it, and that it can be sort of utilized by the tour better. And I was like, I don't know, do we really need more that sort of will be funded by the money from singles, and is it actually going to get any attention if it was a proper tour? I guess there are, as usual, many arguments, but it would be doubles 2.0, I think. So.
Yeah. But at the slams, it's good because it's novel and it happens 4 times a year.
At the slams, definitely.
So maybe that would actually lose some of its luster if it was year-round.
Maybe.
Of course, there's also talks of a combined tour with PIF and Saudi Arabia, but no definitive news on it. Just meetings happening on the grounds.
Yeah, I mean, all this stuff really doesn't interest me for now. I see a lot of course, info about it on Twitter, and I'm like, well, we will handle it when it comes. For now, it's all really okay. Some offers and stuff. Of course, all the journalists who know nothing about tennis but are good in that, in sort of inside info and stuff, they have woken up and they're now
who are these journalists? David, you won't give names.
No names, but they are putting 20 tweets a day now about the whole thing. Again, yeah, let's just watch tennis, and after that we will sort of focus on it when we actually know what's going to happen and we actually know what we're going to be dealing with. Personally, I would like the tour to stay, as much as it is right now as possible, as close to what we have right now as possible. But I know that my opinion is maybe not that important in that whole thing. So I'm also not really willing to go out on Twitter and say that because, well, my opinion is not important in this case. I'm not going to provide any social change if I do that.
Well, there is an effort to make the Challenger 175s really big and increase their production value. So that is a good thing, right? That the 175.
Where is that effort coming from? Is it announced somewhere or something?
No, but I think the broadcasting for Phoenix is
that's not for 175s. That just shows that you haven't been watching the Challenger Tour Revanche, because this year, starting from Koblenz, actually, Koblenz was the first event. We're going to have about 60, 70 events that are televised in that way. So it's not a 175 thing. No, it's part of the overall challenger reforms. There are basically about 60, 70, that's what they told me, 60, 70 events this year that are going to get this. And, multiple cameras, not like in the past where you had just national TV transmitting it or
like
something.
other ways to
and then picking up.
broadcast it besides the ATP website.
Come again?
Like other ways to broadcast it outside of the ATP website. Like you can find it on, in the States, you can find it on T2, you can find it on Tennis Channel Plus, you can find it on.
No, but that happened in the past too. Like Super Tennis, for example, in Italy is now showing a lot of challengers because they have no rights to anything. Like that depends really on the country and stuff. But in general, like the way that Phoenix and a lot of events are televised, that's going to be for many challengers where they just have actual people in there with multiple cameras and doing them. I actually don't know if Phoenix has that though. Does it?
Should.
I guess I haven't seen a match yet because Major hasn't started yet, and yesterday I only caught something from the outside courts. But I don't know.
Broadcast team on site. Then
yeah.
Other
that's what I'm talking about.
Challenger events in the US and in the past.
Yeah, I guess it wasn't in the qualifying, maybe. But in the US, this was done by the. In the US, that was done by the USTA, right?
Yeah, but like last year, I don't think there was that big of a effort for Phoenix or for any of the challengers.
Oh, for Phoenix, no. Phoenix was actually kind of underused with that. Yeah. Phoenix was, let's say the overall production wasn't sort of worthy, let's say, of us 175. Like it didn't actually, let's say, have that vibe, if you may.
They sort of bring up Phoenix because the field is just so good, and like the. Yeah, like the quality is just. There is like a big effort from the event itself to be like much bigger than it was.
I mean, they upgraded the stadium, they upgraded the venue for this year quite a lot. But in general, kind of whatever the event was, like there would be a lot of people joining it because, it's just in the prime time slot in the calendar, right? Like
it's like that one after the Madrid. Like the second week of Madrid as well, there was that challenger that Murray won.
But then you have two. Then you have two of them.
Yeah.
So the fields are.
Are there any others this week in the States? No, that's the only one in the States. There's a chance.
I mean, you're very rarely going to have two in the same geographical region, unless it's Europe. But in the States, you're very rarely going to get two challengers. This week we have Santiago, of course, in South America. We have in Europe, of course, we have Szekesfehérvár on indoor clay in Hungary, and also we have the Hamburg Challenger 50 that was added later to that week, and of course Phoenix, the 175.
There's some big hitting from Alcaraz in this game.
Yeah, it could be more sort of mini threats coming on the Marozsán serve, just like in the first few games.
I think something is just about Alcaraz on this court, man. It's just his pace generation from like a really low contact point. I mean, obviously that's not something new that's like revelational when it comes to him, but like on this court, it's like really striking, like how much power he can just generate from like a nothing ball, basically.
Yeah, he's not rushed either. He plays a lot more on his own terms, a lot more sort of comes naturally, which is very, of course, sort of similar to Iga Świątek, right? And how things happen for her on these courts too.
They both also have that get out of jail kick serve out wide on the outside, and followed by an inside.
Particularly effective here.
Yeah, but although it'll be interesting to see, for example, when Iga plays in the night, like how quick she's able to adjust to that, because that is a very different in the night here. There's actually quite a bit of
gonna play at night
play
today against Yulia Putintseva. Of course, not exactly the most dangerous opponent, so you would kind of still feel like, she's probably gonna figure it out sooner or later. But
I was thinking about those Sarah Sorribes tournament matches, and then like I was kind of like equating.
It's the same type of opponent,
Yeah, similar style of going about it, kind of, in terms of preparation.
And if you sort of look ahead, of course, her draw is also kind of blowing up, right? I mean, Kerber,
Yeah.
Wozniacki, then Potapova, Pavlyuchenkova, Kostyuk. Like,
There's
it's
also
pretty
rumors that
simple
Wozniacki
final.
is not fit at all, and that she may
I know.
withdraw.
I've seen it. Like, you know, maybe not that she will withdraw, like, because that was actually like sort of, you know, said her dad said that it won't be the case that she was gonna play. I don't know, maybe he was lying, but yeah, apparently she should play. But yeah, there were some rumors about her limping around the venue. Marozsán saved 2 breakpoints, but he won't be serving the third one. Carlos Alcaraz once again, just sort of once the rally is back to neutral after the serve, he is the one dominating on the forehand. He is the one putting more pressure on Fabi, and he gets the break eventually after 33 minutes. Lasted a while, but so far I guess we're kind of seeing what we expected. Like, it's still pretty tricky. Marozsán still has the weaponry to bother him, but on these courts it's tougher to pull that off. Maybe even tougher than on a slow clay court in Rome. But of course, we also mentioned that Alcaraz was kind of tired after the Barcelona and Madrid efforts, which might be the case for a lot of his Rome runs in the future if he's as dominant in Barcelona and in Madrid as he's been so far.
Yes, indeed. So we'll see. I mean, we don't want to look too far ahead because his draw is still quite difficult. Quarters and semis especially. We'll see what happens in the final if he gets there.
It's going to be high-class opposition every round, and especially maybe the quarters and semis, which makes it even trickier. Yeah.
The Demon Zverev match is also a tough one to call, right? That's so 50-50. I don't know who's winning.
Demon Zverev, yeah, I think it's just really form of the day.
Slight favorite, like maybe 52-48 for Demon, but it's like
because of form, but the conditions, I don't know. Has Zverev done well?
Zverev has never done well here. Like, he had a match point over Fritz in 2021 to get to the semis.
Yeah, it's the only ATP 1000 he hasn't made the semifinal set, which is kind of surprising. Yeah. Then again, I mean, he does well everywhere, really. So maybe other than grass. So
other than Wimbledon. Who else? Yeah, I mean, 2021 was such a missed opportunity for so many of these guys. It was a missed opportunity for all of them. Tsitsipas and Zverev. My gosh.
Tsitsipas for sure. Hurkacz, lots of them. Yeah, Dimitrov.
Yeah.
Basically, Basilashvili as well. Basilashvili as well, in a way, because you're never gonna get an ATP 1000 final with Cam Norrie again, probably. So yeah, I think even for Basilashvili.
Talk about irrelevant player.
He's playing, you know. I don't know how much you've been following it, but he is actually active on the ITF circuit. He lost to Ergi Kirkin last week, and I think this week he today defeated Enzo Wollard, so he's still in the draw. I don't know who he plays next, but yeah, it's basically 15Ks now. Doesn't seem that he's gonna ever return, really. He had a pretty nice win over Alex Naff last week. That's the college player from Luxembourg. However, I heard that Naff might have been like struggling.
That's crazy. How did he fall that far down? I mean,
900 something. Is he there right now? I don't know. Something like that, right?
That is crazy.
Yeah, 918. Yeah. It's kind of like Benoit Paire.
A 3-time ATP 500 champion with serious weapons. Like, at least Paire doesn't really have a forehand. This guy has weapons off both wings.
But like for a while, they were going for a similar pattern. Like they had a similar win rate, I guess. But after that, things fell apart. I think I even watched Basilashvili twice live last year. But you know, these appearances were not memorable, so it doesn't feel like it. You know, it was like 2 matches and 4 sets, I think so. Apparently, like I look like a choir boy. I can explain my decision making when it comes to that mustache being sort of out of the picture now. I simply
Is it
realized
because
that
Steve Johnson retired, and so you're like, I feel the need no longer to.
no, I actually left it on before Steve Johnson retired. But when basically the thing was that I looked at myself in the mirror and I realized that by the time sort of my beard started growing back, it kind of didn't look right anymore. Like it didn't look very sort of different from the other parts of my face. So of course I still could have just sort of shaved off my beard and left the mustache on, but I just realized that I was gonna have to do it like, every 2 weeks, for example, if that's gonna be my strategy. So that's not good for me. I really dislike doing it. I really procrastinate when it comes to that. So that's off, and that's probably never happening again, unless maybe for fun once again at some point.
Growing your hair out. Oh, I mean, if you just let it grow and you just wait and wait and wait and wait, it's not fun shaving that thing 2 months later. Unless you just sort of go for a trim every 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
No. I actually just shave it all off like every 2-3 months. Yeah. I know there are certain sort of issues with this approach. Yeah, it gets tricky. It definitely gets very tough, but I still prefer it to like doing it regularly. Yeah. Anyway, Carlos Alcaraz, after that facial hair.
I don't think people have come in here to talk about facial hair.
Talking facial hair, that's our new name of the channel. And Carlos Alcaraz is pressuring the Marozsán serve once again, 15-30, big backhand return. So it has not been easy for the Hungarian to stay on top of the rallies, even after his serve. Kind of the difference when it comes to Rome, I suppose. Like he wasn't winning every single service game in Rome. Of course, it's still a very slow court, but he definitely was doing a lot of work. Like his serve was consistently giving him 3 points. I think especially the first set, a lot of the points were he was just like bleating Alcaraz in his service games. Maybe second set, there were a few tougher ones. I think he lost a break actually, sort of late in the second set as well. But maybe even 2 over the course of the set. But it definitely is a bit of a major difference so far compared to the Roman counter. There's just not much that Marozsán is securing for himself easily behind his delivery. And it's a double fault as well to give Alcaraz a set point. I mean, maybe, he's got both his legs taped. Maybe that can also hurt him a bit during the service motion. Just, bending the knees. But I don't know. Of course, with that, we're just sort of guessing. But probably there are no apparent signs. So we should just be looking at it sort of at face value. And yeah, we know that Carlos Alcaraz has a set point, which he will also take. The placement on the +1 forehand from Marozsán being very, subpar. We can probably say that. Alcaraz has an easy pass, 41 minutes, 6-3, 2 breaks. Well, routine so far. I guess we can use that word.
Yeah, pretty routine. And he looked like he was the better player all throughout the set, particularly the first. I think Marozsán only had one easy hold. So, yeah. It was fairly routine.
Yeah, just one that didn't get to deuce. Well, this one also didn't get to deuce, but you know what I mean. Just one that he won without getting to deuce, let's say that.
Looks like Talking Tennis got approved for Miami, so that is good news for the channel.
I mean, we're gonna get approved for almost everything, right?
Yeah, seems like it. Except for the slams.
Yeah, that's why I said almost all. Although maybe for some slam, I don't know. Was anyone trying for Australia, for example? But yeah, let's maybe look at some stats as well, since they are still not playing, since someone went off the court. You've got Alcaraz with 2 aces and 2 double faults, 1-1 for Marozsán, but definitely the ease of winning their service games. Just 7 points lost by Carlos, well, in 4 games, but still. And Marozsán just in trouble almost every service game. That really has been an issue for him. And when the rally goes neutral, he does not have the easiest time blasting through Alcaraz, because most of the time it's actually Alcaraz who's doing the blasting.
Yes, and he's blasting without missing really, and it looks like he's played 5 really good sets this tournament.
Yeah, the first fight of the second set is pretty funny. I gotta see it. I don't want to spoil that. I don't want to spoil that to you. No, that you have to see by yourself.
Oh, was it like just Alcaraz making a dumb mistake? Let me see.
Kinda. I mean, it's kind of a smart mistake as well.
I don't know. I'm just kind of guessing by his reaction. I didn't actually see the point.
Oh, you didn't see the point? Yeah, but you saw his reaction?
Yeah, I saw him like just laughing, and he was at the net. So my guess is he missed some
Okay.
easy bowling or some shit.
Okay, so basically he had a short return from Marozsán that he was just, about to put away, but he decides to delay the stroke. And like he delays it to a point where Marozsán is already, in the trenches. Like, no way, Marozsán is on this other half of the court. And Alcaraz just, basically into the open court, he nets it. It was very funny when you watched it. I mean, obviously me telling you it's not going to have quite the same impact. But yeah, basically it was smart and dumb in the same sort of, let's say, extent, to the same extent, because of course a play like this usually ensures that you're going to get the point if you do it right. It's pretty rare to see players missing because you just take everything off. And yeah, I mean, Alcaraz didn't like hit that shot, with proper usual force. Like he definitely used that, the fact that he knew where Marozsán wouldn't be. But yeah,
the next volley was very good. The back.
Oh yeah, that actually easily could have been low 30, but it's not.
And yeah, Alcaraz just continues to hit really big forehands from the backhand corner. How fast do you think on average he's hitting these forehands? Probably in the 80s.
Is the average going to be in the 80s?
Low 80s?
I was going to say like 77 or something like that. I'm going to see if there was the stats. They probably showed us stats after the first set, right? We just weren't there to look at them, I suppose. But
that posts it after every match, but I don't think they do it after every set.
Yeah, but I can rewind. And I have the first sort of, board on the screen or whatever, and there's the second one, 74 on the forehead only. So my initial thought of 75 would be right. But yeah, of course, there's also a lot of spin on it and stuff. Some of them are definitely going at above 80, yes, undeniably.
Because against what's his name? Against Felix. Yeah, against Felix it was 78 for the match. But I think in one of the sets it was over 80. I don't remember.
There was this crazy. I have to actually change it to miles per hour. But there was this crazy tiebreak by Arthur Fils in at the Next Gen Finals. Do you remember that, when he was hitting his forehand apparently 92.5 miles per hour?
I think so. What match was that? Was that against?
Of course, it's just 8 points. I think it might have been more Van Asch rather than Medjedovic. Wasn't that like third set against Van Asch when Luka had some set points maybe earlier? but then Fils just comes out and destroys him. I think it was third set against Van Asch, and it's 7-1 for sure. Like, it was for sure 8 points. So I guess we can easily check that, actually. The tiebreak against Nardi doesn't fit. The tiebreak against Stricker doesn't either. And of course, against Medjedovic, he won 2 tiebreaks, but they were very tight. So yeah, it has to be the third set against Van Asch, when for 8 points, the average speed of the Fils forehand was 92.5 miles per hour. What did you think about his performance last night, by the way, against Ruud?
Definitely left a lot to be desired. But I didn't see like the whole match, so I'm not really in a position to comment too much about it. But yeah, it wasn't like the match in Hamburg, that's for sure. But I did feel like Casper was hitting his backhand better. Did you think so? Like, he was taking some more down the line. He was definitely getting it.
Casper was kind of playing the way he did against Alex de Minaur. Casper was kind of playing like he did in the Acapulco final. Like, he was just straight up, going toe to toe with Fils in terms of baseline power, and sure, of both wings as well. And whereas against Alex de Minaur, it was it wasn't the right play. Here, it turns out it kind of was. Like, Ruud really matched him on just blasting that forehand, and of course they're both sort of that same, a lot of pace and a lot of spin, at least when they want to. So it's fine, but yeah, I'm not gonna be like too disappointed about Fils not being that competitive in that match. I do think Casper played very well, but of course it didn't really live up to the expectations that the Hamburg match from Fils really left us with. And Marozsán gets the first game in the second set with this second serve ace.
But also, Casper last year was so passive. Was just playing very behind the baseline, like just floating a lot of balls. Just wasn't really that imposing like he's been this year. I think he has more hardcourt wins, or at least the same number of hardcourt wins up until March than he did all of 2023. So the forehand.
I mean, yeah, definitely in Hamburg it was just Fils dominating with the forehand. Sure. Here probably he wasn't really allowed that much space. I don't know if it would have been enough if he was, but yeah, Casper did play a very good match for sure. And it's kind of looking, likely that he might pull off 3 finals in a row right now. He is one of the contenders, at least.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of looking at a Ruud versus Paul quarterfinal, right? And would that be? Yeah, I'd probably favor Casper a little bit there. Yeah, I mean, it's possible. You would think that he would. Wouldn't you think that he would have done better in Indian Wells than?
Oh, generally, yeah. I don't remember if this was on the draw preview that we did with John, or if it was on that other stream preview in Polish that I did on maybe later that day. But on one of these, I definitely said that I don't understand how Casper has never had a run in Indian Wells, and like the fact that he is the finalist of Miami, but in Indian Wells he kind of has a poor record is very surprising to me. So he was definitely like one of my, dark horses, if you can call them dark horses. Because we can't really call him a dark horse, but he kind of was. Let's say he kind of was my dark horse.
Yeah, he's someone who, like, I remember watching him against Tsitsipas also in Cabo and thinking, like, man, his backhand is holding up way better than Steph's. So that was yet another match where.
Do you remember watching a match of Tsitsipas where that wasn't the case? Of course, I'm joking a little
bit. Recently, no, not until Paris. Yeah. Paris was like the only time that I thought.
Maybe if we get him to play Giovanni Mpeci card.
Or like some of the opponents he faced to get to those semis in Cabo. Or he didn't face anybody good though. Or if he keeps drawing Tiafoe, who's also lost.
Kasper said, "I am like a cockroach," apparently to Elena. But, he's not playing like a cockroach right now, I would say. Unless he was just referring to sort of how people perceive him rather than maybe the play style and stuff.
One thing about Casper is that he'll always make the Rome semifinal. I think that's what he's done for 4 years in a row.
Only one Rome appearance where he didn't do that, 2019. Of course, the famous Kyrgios default, and then he loses to Del Potro. But yeah, since all semifinals and in fact two losses to Djokovic, one easily could have been a loss to Djokovic if Djokovic beats Rune, but he avoided that loss to Djokovic by losing to Rune. So far, the only loss to Rune that he's actually experienced. But well, that matchup problem to me is fictional.
He was 2 games away from the final.
Yeah. He was like up a break in the second, maybe 4-3 or something like that.
7-6, 4-2, and then
4-2 even. Okay, I thought maybe 4-3, but yeah, 4-2.
But at the same time, Rune was so close to beating him in Acapulco, and probably should have.
This matchup problem is fictional. They played a lot at the very beginning of Holger's career, and when they played, for example, Roland Garros last year, Rune was like, tired.
Well, they played twice in 2021. And they played in Monte Carlo and Roland Garros 2022, and then 20. Okay, yeah.
So by Roland Garros 2022, when we have like still nothing close to peak Rune by Roland Garros 2022, we already have 4 matches. After that, you have Roland Garros last year, where Rune after the Cerundolo match is just like, unable to compete really. Then you have Acapulco, where he easily could have beaten him. I can't really say that he would have, if not for the physical issues, because the reason why he went 3-1 and 4-2 up in the third set was also how he was playing due to these physical issues. I just think that, the matchup issue there is very exaggerated. Cockroaches are tenacious, probably. I mean, some people who have been fighting them in their flats, in their apartments, they would probably say that, yeah. I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen a cockroach, but I certainly would not want to find one.
Right now, we also have Kostyuk against Pavlyuchenkova, which is a rematch of San Diego quarterfinals. Except now they meet in the 4th round here, and I think actually that's their 3rd meeting this year. Yeah, it is their 3rd meeting. Of course, first one was in Doha, or they didn't actually finish the match. It was a retirement.
Yeah, it was a retirement after 3 games?
Yeah. And the winner of this match is facing Potapova. So most likely play Swiatek in the semis.
It's a really nice section for Riga. Like the whole half is kind of.
It is, but also I would love to see a match of Iga versus Marta, because I do think Kostyuk is one of those players who might be realizing her full potential right now. Of course, I'm not saying she's going to beat Iga, but I'd like to see it.
I personally think that the next few Swiatek matches might be in that vein of, we'll watch them. We will sort of tune into them more carefully once they get close. But we'll see. Maybe it's just going to be very different. Maybe she's not actually going to dominate Indian Wells as we are expecting her to. But of course, we haven't really seen anything to suggest otherwise so far.
It is a nice draw.
Carlos Alcaraz is also playing a pretty nice match so far. Should have this game unless he massively screws up again. No, he's gonna find that smash, even though maybe his prep for it was like getting you kinda nervous based on that previous, of course, that first point of the second set. But all in all, another great point. The short slice to set up a big forehand cross, that was definitely the key. And then it's 6-3, 3-2. Still no harm done to his serve, really. So as long as
No
that
harm at all.
continues,
He's won 45% of his serves have been unreturned.
Oh, really? Wow. 45%. That's like what Rune was on also for a long while yesterday.
Yeah.
Then it stopped.
Today, at one point, the hedge cup was at 57%, which kind of tells you everything you need to know.
And 90% of them were at the back end.
Oh yeah, duh. Where else are you gonna go?
Which surface produces the greatest heights on kick serves? Well, you're not going to be
Madrid?
surprised to
Madrid
hear
Wells?
clay. Yeah. Clay or a
specifically-
clayish hard court specifically. I mean, Wells has a shot in it. I remember
Yeah.
some pretty sick John Isner serves that were usually just shown, in that sort of like a stat where you see how the ball travels and they show you how high it is. But if we're just talking surface, then obviously, it is clay.
We do have someone with a 6 serve playing in a few hours against Sinner.
Benny, yes. Benny and the Jets. I mean, I will try to watch it. I will try to watch Fintech Putintseva as well. We'll see how it goes. It's middle of the night, so I can't be sure.
Yeah, I definitely think Sinner versus Shelton is worth staying up for. I don't know about the second one.
Yeah, we are hosts of this certain show that kinda is related to one player on the WTA side, and she isn't that much. And in case anyone doesn't know what we're talking about, we basically have a Mikhail Kukushkin, Yulia Putintseva, Kazakh-related tennis podcast. So that's why we have to stay up to watch Yulia Putintseva today.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be the best choice also because Kukushkin, he's kind of at the end of his career. Putintseva has a few more years. Maybe Elena Rybakina and Alexander Bublik or Alexander Shevchenko. Someone could do it. But Shevchenko Kazakh podcast will obviously have to start, perhaps in February this year, perhaps even in the latter half of 2023 when it was kind of clear that was going to be the idea for him. While I was talking about this and making stupid jokes, Fábián Marozsán is falling behind on his serve again. Love 40.
This time Alcaraz with a really soft backhand volley cross court.
So this might be the match sort of running away from Fábián Marozsán and also from us, because I feel like ever since we started talking about Stefanos Tsitsipas with John at the beginning of the live stream, we've kind of been all over the place, but it has been a pretty routine affair as well. So
this is reminding me of the one other Marozsán match we did this year in Auckland.
Yeah, against Shelton, yeah. But there also Fábián Marozsán was very lethargic, and actually we tried to do another one. Fábián Marozsán, Marin Cilic, right? We did a set of that.
Yeah, we only kind of did the last set.
Yeah, because we were both napping. That was
he dashed your quarterfinal pick.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that kind of ends the match in more ways than one. And you're going to see why in a second. Marozsán doing everything right in this point, really. I mean, I don't even think the volley was that bad. But yeah, this is the kind of inventive, let's say, defensive play that this court brings out of Alcaraz with that speed, with that athleticism. And 6-3, 4-2 on a pretty crazy forehand pass.
Yes, that is too good. The volley was more than good enough until it wasn't. Wow.
So far,
What a pass.
both Alcaraz and Sinner are kind of looking unbeatable in Indian Wells, which makes you even more excited about their potential clash, because in that someone would actually have to get beaten. However, of course, they're still not there. As Vanch said, I mean, Ben Shelton is definitely one of the players that you can kind of always give a bit of a chance to, regardless of who he's playing. So it's not obvious. Alcaraz will still have to, even if he, let's say he beats Marozsán from here 6-3, 4-2. Even if he does that, he will still have to play Rublev or Zverev or Deminor. So it's not that easy. But like, if we get that semi-final, it's going to be a massive feast for tennis fans, I think.
Yeah. I only made 2 predictions before in our drop show. Apart from Mickelson getting to the 4th round, I just said that Sinner and Alcaraz will play in the semis, and the winner of that is going to win the title. And I said that Djokovic is not going to win. So we'll see if the second part comes true. Oh my gosh. Looks like Alcaraz has only dropped 9 points in total on his serve so far.
Yeah.
Also, Alcaraz's forehand quality pretty good right now, 9.4.
Where are you taking the live tennis insights from?
Oh, are you not getting that on your feed?
No, I'm not getting that on my feed.
They just showed. I'm watching this on Tennis TV, so they just
Okay.
showed the tennis insights.
Well, it makes sense though. 9.4, and it's definitely been the shot that dominates most of the neutral rallies here. However, 15-30 maybe a slight opportunity for Marozsán. In Rome, I think it was the case that Marozsán was up a set and a break, then lost that advantage, then still won, of course, in straights. Maybe Alcaraz is going to go a similar pattern. We'll see. Wow, and he kind of gets this opportunity like a little for free here, because I honestly I was thinking that maybe the serve will even be out, but Carlos on the +1 shot just pulls off this forehand slice, which is like neither deep nor placed well, and Marozsán is super quick to step around and fire that forehand winner. So 2 breakpoints for Marozsán now. First game of Alcaraz in this match that's remotely competitive, and in fact it's worse than competitive from his perspective.
Yeah, that was a weird shot. Not sure what he was going for.
I guess he was surprised with how quickly the return came back to him, but what he came up with just was not good enough.
Oh, second serve. Marozsán had an opportunity there.
Yes,
But he just
will
wants-
ruin, I think, that backhand return for sure.
Of course, it wasn't a bad second serve, 104, and jumped up pretty high, but still got to get that back in play. Score right now. Oh, so it looks like Kostyuk is 2 breaks up in the second set against Pavlyuchenkova. So Kostyuk versus Potapova quarterfinal.
Once again, the Ukrainian-Russian matchup. Kostyuk has been sort of playing that all year, right? I mean, has she played like 40% of her matches this year against Russian players?
It feels like that. I mean, 3 of those are against Pavs, but
against
Who else has she
Pavji.
faced it?
There was someone, I'm pretty sure. Like, I can't think of it right now, but I think at the Australian Open there was
The
this
Australian Open, like Timo Fiva, maybe in the fourth round. Maybe that's the
yeah.
one.
There was this puff that like she basically could have played a Russian for like 3 matches straight or
And who was
something
the
like that.
match
I think
before that? Was it? It might have been
Yeah.
Avanesian. Is she Russian? Yeah. So then there you go.
Avanesian is Russian. Yeah.
Yeah. Of course.
Timofeeva, Avanesian, Kasatkina in Brisbane as well, Pavlyuchenkova, and right now Pavlyuchenkova and potentially Potapova. So if it happens that Potapova and Pavlyuchenkova will be her 2 opponents, then we are going to get her in 20 matches against 7 Russians. So it's not quite 40%, but it's very close.
It was 35. Yeah.
Yeah, 35. Yeah.
Oh, and back to Alcaraz. He just hit
What a forehand.
scorching forehand winner right there. Yeah.
I would like to see a replay of that reaction from Marozsán. I wonder what it was, because he like kind of raised his arms. I don't know. But
And that
was it disbelief? Was it like, how the hell can you land that? I don't know, but probably a combination of all of these.
Carlos a lot of confidence. 15-40. And then he hits an ace on the game point. I guess also his movement looks really good, right?
Alcaraz's, yeah. But like, was that a point of contention? I don't know. Maybe after the ankle roll in Rio.
Yeah. I guess we kind of found that out.
Maybe you could have expected.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's not this much that we found it that, but yeah. I mean, so far the Rio, of course, the Rio injury doesn't really seem to be playing into his Indian Wells preparation, Indian Wells form at all, which is what we were sort of like, saying that as long as it doesn't do that, like it's not a big deal, really.
Yeah. I'm also glad to see that Marozsán isn't just like sort of just had that one big win. Like he has done some stuff since Shanghai, most notably.
Where are we ranking Carlos's slice? John is saying. I mean, it's not
good.
The most vital part of his game, but it is good. Like I don't think it's a thing that needs improvement at all, really.
No.
He can use it both offensively and defensively, really, and yeah.
The better question is where do we rank his
that
backhand overall?
second set. Where do we rank what?
His backhand overall.
Mm-hmm.
Would you put it in the top 10? You probably would, right?
Yeah,
not top 5, but not top.
Maybe towards the lower end. Yeah, I think that's fair. It's not special, I mean, it is still special, but yeah.
I mean, it's not a bad.
It's not as special. It's not as special. Let's say that.
Yeah, but he can definitely hurt you off of it. So it's.
Oh yeah.
God.
Sure.
Offensive and defensive. That's the thing about a lot of these 2000s born players, aside from Felix. They can really hurt you off of both wings. Most of them, at least. The Hechka, both wings. Sinner. I mean, even a lot of the other, like Fonseca, and I guess Prismic is probably more backhand centric than forehand centric. He's a bit like Chorich. Who else? Yeah, of course, Menchik. Even Feast can hurt you off of the backhand, but it's not.
It's a work. It's a work in progress, I would say, for Feast. Yeah. Michael Agvi, can we already start talking about him as a next gen prospect, please? Because he has improved that backhand, and it is kind of feels like a situation, I would say. But this week, I mean, he's had his ups and downs. Against Harif and Delcan, it wasn't that great, but today and against Palivo, it actually was a proper shot, and I think it is kind of similar technically.
And Kostyuk is into the quarterfinals. 6-4, 6-1. So. So she keeps the momentum going from San Diego. And okay. Marta Kostyuk, by the way, a year younger than Iga. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it for sure. Yeah, because Kostyuk
She's like
made
the
that
oldest
Australian Open
21-year-old
third
in the
round.
game.
Because she made that Australian Open third round, right?
Yeah. It's a good start to the game for Alcaraz.
Yeah, trying to serve it out. So far, of course, just one competitive game on his serve, but it was the previous one. It was the last one. So maybe Marozsán can take some confidence out of that, but it doesn't look like it will be impactful so far.
Yes, Grigor. What are your thoughts on Grigor versus Medvedev?
Great
Did
shot.
Grigor have
I
a
mean,
chance? Yeah.
yeah, I think especially the nowadays version of Dimitrov, the one that can grind, the one that can really use that slice to neutralize points and like just sort of wait an opponent around. I think he might have like more options potentially against Medvedev. Obviously, this isn't really a matchup where like Daniel will be pressuring him that much off the ground,
Yeah.
but like still, I think it does give a bit of a new layer to Dimitrov, a new layer. And on these courts, I think that Daniel is just vulnerable more than in other conditions. I'm not saying he is poor. I'm not saying he's not going to beat most players, but he's always going to be vulnerable to someone really good, and Dimitrov falls into that category for me. So is Dimitrov the favorite? Maybe I wouldn't go that far, but he's not that far off, I think. I actually haven't
Yeah,
checked
not
the
that
odds
far
or anything. I don't know how they are, but yeah, I mean,
He has a good
it's
chance.
actually pretty close. It's actually pretty close, even odds-wise, yeah. And I do agree with that.
So yeah, 3 match points, and Carlos with the serve and forehand inside out winner. So very routine for Carlos today again. 6
Yeah.
very good sets in a row.
That was definitely quite routine, probably more than we expected. I wouldn't, go as far as say that this just means that in Rome, Marozsán was like, it was everything because Barcelona, Madrid, and stuff, and because Carlos was fatigued. But definitely, like neutral rallies today, Marozsán kind of didn't have a say in them. And of course, he can regret missing these 2 breakpoints because that was a proper chance.
Yeah. Do you remember what happened on the second break point? I just saw the first, the backhand miss.
Yeah, one more unforced error from Marozsán. It
Okay.
was like a 5-shot
chance.
rally maybe, and he misses a neutral forehand. Yeah, so nothing outrageous, but like again, a point he was in, and he. Well, I guess you can say on the first point he wasn't in it because he didn't make a return, but it was the second serve and stuff. Yeah, but it was actually a rally he was in, and he just misses a kind of random forehand down the middle. So yeah, both points we can treat as real opportunities for him. Yes.
Yeah. And so, Zverev versus de Minaur waits in the quarters. Zverev or de Minaur. Of course, he's only played de Minaur once, and that was in Barcelona 2022 in the semifinal there.
Quite the match. Yeah.
And you remember the match point saves there, especially one in particular with that insane forehand pass. Where he
just invents a new shot right there and manages to save the match point.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, like, I guess maybe from that perspective, the Minor could be a bit of a threatening opponent to Carlos. Because
Yeah,
in theory,
probably.
he beats guys like that regularly, right? I mean, he beats guys like, I don't know, Nori, Munar, and stuff. But on the other hand, I mean, Alex is just so good. And with Zverev, at least we sort of know what we're getting. Although, obviously, that's still a big match given what we saw at the Australian Open in their quarterfinals. So I guess both narratives will be pretty interesting.
Yeah. And of course, we think de Minaur is a slight favorite in the match today.
Yeah, I guess with what we said about the Indian Wells conditions, like Zverev not really succeeding in them before, maybe I can give that 1 percentage point to Alex, but just on paper, forgetting previous history in Indian Wells, I would say Zverev is the slight favorite, actually. But if we sort of factor that, yeah, he's never done too well on these courts, and maybe that conditions edge that I see from him sort of being more important than the form. Maybe if that's our way of thinking, then sure. Then I'm also willing to give that 1% to the Minor. But I mean, that everything in this kind of tells you that I don't know and that it's close.
Yeah, of course, he did beat him earlier this year in Australia, but he beat Fritz and Djokovic and and Zverev. So. And yeah, I mean, then of course that night we have the Shelton Sinner match. And those are the only 2 men's matches left. For the women's side, we still have Kerber versus Wozniacki, if that even happens. And then we have Swiatek, Putintseva.
Are you also on that team who's like, Kerber, Wozniacki? I mean, am I really excited about that? Like, it's fine, but the match just isn't as important to me. This match just isn't as important to me as it is to some people, apparently.
I guess it's a cool story for either one of them to get to the quarters of 1,000 after being away from the tour for so long.
Oh, yeah.
So from that standpoint, yeah. But in terms of, do I think either one of them is going to win the title? No. Or beat Swiatek in the quarters? No. Assuming Swiatek gets there, but yeah. So yeah, I see what you're saying. But that is about it.
Yeah, absolutely. We can be wrapping up here. Perhaps not as competitive as we thought, but still a nice display of Alcaraz that kind of makes you think that, okay, he is actually, still a thing here in this event and still a thing on the tour because, well, of course he was, but the display of Sinner recently, the way that he was playing so far in this event, he kind of looks unbeatable, but maybe Alcaraz is kind of unbeatable on these courts too. So that's what we can basically talk about for now, I think, in terms of the Alcaraz-Sinner matchup potential. But for now, both of these guys are still actually going to have some tough tests ahead of them. Sinner playing Shelton and then potentially Lehečka, and of course, Alcaraz playing de Minaur or Zverev. So I guess we can start wrapping things up here. Thank you, Vansh, and thank you to the guys in the chat. And Stefanos Tsitsipas also did supply us with a lot of good discussion topics today. So thank you, Stefanos. And that's
we're making him very relevant on Talking Tennis.
Davey's devastated about the mustache. I'm sorry. It started looking horribly, so I shaved it off. Yeah. Anyway, once again, see ya.
Damien shaved the mustache. Alcaraz shaved off Marozsán. And we are going to be saying goodbye. So yeah, thanks Damien, thanks everyone in the comments, and I'm not sure if we're gonna have any more streams today. If we do, then stay tuned for those.
We will have Shelton Sinner.
Okay, so it'll be a good one.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.